Okay, this is the video answer key for lesson 10.2 worksheet number 1. Okay, so on this first one, we're going to go ahead and just break this down. Let's see, get my calculator here. 275, I'm going to divide by 5. And when I did that, I got 55. And so I'm going to break 55 down into 5 and 11. So now pair them up, move them out. So I get a 5 on the outside. This 11 right here left over doesn't have a buddy. So we're going to go ahead and leave him on the inside. Okay, now your variables, you've got 5 m's. All right, so we're looking for pairs of m's. We got 2 pairs of m's, so we've got m squared. We have 1 m left over, so he stays on the inside. Now for your n's, there are 3 n's. That means you have 1 pair that moved out, and you have 1 n left on the inside. Okay, number 2, go ahead and, let's see, 512. Just start by dividing by 2 here. Oops. So I get 2 and 256. Okay, now 256, when I divide that, I can actually break this up into 16 and 16. And so since I already have a pair, I'm going to go ahead and pair up that 16 and move it out. I'm not going to keep breaking it down. It's fine if you do, but you don't have to. So I've got a 16 on the outside. I've got a 2 on the inside left over, m to the 4th. So when I'm looking at 4, I have 2 pairs. So I have m squared on the outside, no m's on the inside because there was nothing left over. Now on your n's, there are 7 of them. So that means I'd have 1, 2, 3 pairs. And then I'm going to have 1 guy left over on the inside. And that's your answer. Okay, number 3. All right, so I'm going to break down 175. I'm going to start by dividing by 5 first and get 5 and 35. 35 will break to 5 and 7. So I have a pair of 5s that's going to move out. Now there is already this -3 on the outside here, so I need to take -3 times the 5 to get -15. And then this 7 doesn't have a buddy. He's going to stay on the inside. So -15 root 7 is my solution. Number 4, all right, 392. Okay, I'm going to break that down. I know 2 will come out of it, so I'm going to do 2, and that took me to 196. Now, I think if I square root 196 here, I get 14, yep. So I'll end up with 14 and 14. Again, I'm not going to break that 14 down any farther. I'm going to go ahead and pair it up, move it out. So I've got 14 times the -6, so that gives me -84 on the outside, and then I have this 2 left over on the inside, and that's your solution. Number 5. All right, so on this one, the square root of 36 is 6. Now, if you want to think about it, you can think about just, okay, pair it up, move it out, or you can just think of 5 times 6 will be 30 on the outside. Now my u's, I have 4 u's, so when I'm thinking about pairs, I have 1, 2 pairs on the outside, nothing left in on the inside, and then I've got 4 v's, so 1, 2 pair again, and there will be nothing left on the inside. So in this case, your answer is just going to be 30u squared v squared. There's no radical left for this answer. Number 6. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and break this down. I know 7 will go into it. I'll get 49, and then 49 will break to 7 and 7. So 7s will pair up and move out. So on the outside, I have 5 times 7, right? You have the 5 from here times the 7 here. So I'm going to get 35 on the outside. Now I have this 7 left over right here. So I'm going to have 7 on the inside, x squared. I have 1 pair of x's, and then y to the 3rd. Well, I've got 1 pair moving out, and then this guy right here didn't have a buddy. He's going to stay on the inside, and this is going to be my answer. Okay, number 7. Okay, so on number 7, when we start multiplying, we're going to multiply insides and outsides. So on this guy, I'm going to multiply again. Insides multiply with other insides. So on the inside here, I get 36. Now on the outside, keep in mind that there is technically a 1 here. We don't write it, but it is there, just like it would be for variables. So I really just have 1 times -3 and that's going to give me -3 on the outside. Now, in this case, I know the square root of 36 is 6, so really this is just saying -3 times 6, which is going to be -18. Okay, number 8. Okay, again, so multiply your outsides together. So I'm going to take -4 times 5 and get -20. I'm going to multiply my insides together, 15 and 3, and that's going to give me 45. Now I'm going to go ahead and break down that 45, and a lot of times if I've multiplied to get somewhere, I'm just going to go ahead and use those same numbers down here. So I'm just going to use 15 and 3 down here, and then 15 will break to 3 and 5. So now I have a pair of 3s that's going to pair up and move out. So I have -60 on the outside. And then when I look at this guy right here, this 5, he doesn't have a buddy, so he's stuck on the inside. So my answer is -60 root 5. Okay, on number 9, going to go ahead and multiply here. Again, the outside number is just going to stay a 3 because, right, it's just 1 times 3 will be 3. Now my inside number, 15 times 12, is 180. And then keep in mind on those variables, when we're multiplying or when they're side by side, add those exponents. So I'm going to get x to the 3rd. All right, so now I break this down. Since I used 15 and 12 to get there, I'm going to go ahead and just go back to the 15 and 12. And then I've got 5 times 3, I've got 3 times 4, and 4 will go to 2 times 2. So now I pair up my 3s and my 2s, and remember, both of those are moving out. So both of those guys go out. So when I multiply 3 times 3 is 9, times 2 is 18. So right now I've got an 18 on the outside. Now on the inside, I still have this little 5 right here. Oops, that's not a highlighter, is it? Let's try this. I have this 5 left over on the inside. So I'm going to put 5 on the inside. Now x to the 3rd, right? I would have 3 x's. So that means I have 1 pair out here and 1 guy left over on the inside right here. This guy's a leftover. And that's going to be my answer. Okay, number 10. All right, there's no outside numbers to multiply, so I'm just going to multiply the inside numbers. And I'm getting 60 v to the 5th. Again, add those exponents. So now 60 will break down to 6 and 10. I got 3 times 2, 2 times 5. So my 2's will pair up and move out. On the inside, I still have this 3 and 5 right here. So on the inside, I still have a 15 left. Now V's, I've got 5 V's. So I have 1, 2 pairs. And then this guy will be left over on the inside. So 2v squared times radical of 15v is my solution. Okay, this one's asking us to find the area. So we have a length and a width. So we're going to multiply, right? For finding area, length times width. So I'm going to take 7 square root of 6 times 2 square root of 10. So now multiply your outside numbers together. So when I do that, 7 times 2 is 14. Now multiply your insides together and get 60. Now let's go ahead and break down that 60 to 6 and 10. And this will go to 3 times 2, 2 times 5. So the 2's pair up and move out. So I have 28 on the outside. And then if I look here, I have a 3 and a 5 left over for the inside, which will give me 15. So right now my answer is 28 radical 15. And then since it's area, centimeters squared. And that's my answer. All right, going to the next page. All right, some good old review here. Okay, to start graphing, we are going to have to solve for y on this guy. Okay, so we're going to isolate our y on both of these. Actually, I'm going to color code this. So we'll just start with the blue one on top here. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract the x off and get 3y less than -x minus 6. I'm then going to divide everything by 3 and get y is less than -1/3 x minus 2. So now when I come down here to graph, I'm starting at -2. -1/3 means down 1, right 3. And then I'm going to kind of go up in the other way here. Okay, it's going to be a dotted line because there's no equal sign in here. Okay, and then looking at your sign right here, this says less than. So less than is everything down here, Remember, everything below that start point. Okay. All right, next guy, I'm going to use red on this one. So I'm going to start by moving that 4x over. Oops, not highlighter though. So I've got negative 3y is less than or equal to negative 4x minus 9. Now I am going to divide by negative 3. And remember, when we divide by negative, we got to flip that inequality symbol. So it's going to become y is greater than or equal to positive 4/3 x plus 3. Okay, so just don't forget to flip that sign. So I'm going to start at 3. All right, 4/3 will go off my grid, so I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, and this way to the left there to get that point. I'm going to have a solid line here. And then now, since it says y is greater, greater shades up. So everything on the upside here gets shaded. All right, so my answers are everything in this little bitty triangle right here. All right, so solve by substitution. So since it's y equals, I'm going to go ahead and just take this, plug it in for the y. So I get negative 2x plus 8 times negative 2x minus 11 equals 2. So now distribute that 8 and get negative 16x minus 88 equals 2. Okay, I'm going to combine like terms and get negative 18x minus 88 equals 2. Then I'm going to add that over and get negative 18x equals 90. And so now when I divide 90 divided by 18, I end up with 5. So x equals negative 5. All right, now to find your y value, you're going to need to plug this in. I'm just going to plug it in right there. So I've got y equals negative 2 times negative 5 minus 11. So I end up with 10 minus 11, or your y value is negative 1. So your coordinate point should be negative 5, negative 1. Okay. All right, we're selling tickets to a fall musical. On the first day, the tickets the school sold 9 adults and 4 students for a total of $155. The school took in $81 on the second day by selling 1 adult and 5 students. Find the price of each adult and student ticket. All right, so I'm going to define our variables here. So I'm going to have A equals number of adult. Oh, wait, no, we're looking for price, aren't we? Sorry. Let's backtrack there for a second. So price for adult. And then I'm going to use S for price for student. Okay. All right. So 9 adult tickets, 4 student tickets, $155. So 9 adults, 4 students, $155. 1 adult, 5 students, and that was $81. Okay. All right, so now you're going to need to multiply something here to eliminate this. You could also do substitution. Really, either way, it doesn't matter. I'm going to go ahead and just multiply this one by negative 9, though, so my adults will cancel out. So I end up with, I'm going to go ahead and rewrite the top one. 9a plus 4s is 155. Now I'm going to get negative 9a, negative 45s, and negative 729. Okay, so those cancel. I get negative 41s equals negative 574. So now I'm going to take 574 and divide it by that 41. And I ended up with students equals 14. Okay, so now take this and plug it back in. I'm just going to plug it in the top one. It really doesn't matter though. So I'm going to get 9 adults plus 4 students at $14 a pop equals 155. So 4 times 14 is 56. So I have 9a plus 56 equals 155. So 9a equals 99. And then when I divide, I'll end up with 11. So adults are $11. Let's go ahead and put a label on. And students is $14. Okay. All right. Next guy here. All right, so keep in mind that anything to 0 power is 1, so we don't need to worry about that guy. We are multiplying, so 3 times 4 is 12. And then keep in mind we are technically adding up the exponents here. Now, some of you might have dropped this and then kind of looked at a subtraction with division, and that's fine. But since these are just side by side, I'm going to go ahead and add them up and just get x. If you put to the first power, that's fine. And then we've got y to the 4th still in there. Okay, number 16. All right, we're going to drop in this -3 and make sure we drop it into all the parts. So I've got 3 to the -3rd, x to the -12, and y to the +9th. Okay, now keep in mind, if it has a negative exponent, it needs to drop. So the 3 and the x should drop. Y to the 9th is going to stay on top. 3 to the 3rd is moved to the bottom, and x to the 12th has moved to the bottom. So now 3 to the 3rd is 27. So I have y to the 9th divided by 27x to the 12th. Okay, so on this one, again, anything to 0 power is 1. Now, 4 divided by 4 is just going to go to 1, or they just cancel out, so we don't need to worry about that. Now, if it's a negative exponent, it does need to pop up. So I've got x to the 1st on top. Now, when I take a look at my y's here, okay, top and bottom, we're going to subtract. So we get 2 left over, and we're going to have 2 left over on the bottom. So I'm going to end up with y squared left on the bottom when I subtract that. All right, and last problem here. Okay, so again, anything to the 0 power is going to cancel. I am going to go ahead and start by dropping this 3 in because I need to take care of that first. Okay, so when I do that, right now I've got 2 y to the -2 still on top. I've got x to the 3rd, and then 2 to the 3rd would be 8, y to the 3rd, and x to the 12th. Okay, all right, so let's see. The y needs to go ahead and drop down here. Now, when I look at my numbers, I've got 2 and 8. That is going to reduce to 1/4. 1/4. X's, I've got 3 here and 12 here. Since they're on the same level and side by side, I'm going to add them and get 15. Now, my y, I have 3 here, and I'm going to bring in 2 more. So that means I now have 5 y's left on the bottom. All right, and that concludes this answer key.